I will get started. Thank you all for your patience. My name is Alan Thayer, also known as Alan the Ambassador Thayer, host of KMHD's The Brazilian Beat on Portland Jazz Radio. And I am pleased to be the MC and host of this program tonight, featuring the music of some of Brazil's greatest musicians, the piano masters Joao Donato, Hermeto Pascoal, and Dom Salvador. And performing songs of these legendary musicians, we have Cassio Viana, Jaznam Singh, and Carrie Pulitzer, in addition to some special guests, Sherry Alves, George Colligan, Laura Dreyer, Wagner Trindade, and Flavio Santos. And with that, I'm going to get into our first performer. And first, I wanted to acknowledge the support of the Regional Arts and Culture Council for helping us put on this program. Much thanks, muito obrigado, to RAC. Also want to encourage you all, if you haven't already, to consider making a donation to help support this program, make it a little bit more sustainable for everyone involved. And we'll make sure to put a link in the YouTube live comments if you haven't had a chance to make a donation already. So first, we're going to get into Joao Donato. And with that, I'm going to play a little video for you about Joao Donato.
Joao Donato was born in the Amazonian state of Acre in 1934. His family moved to Rio de Janeiro, where a young Donato fell in love with jazz music from American films and imported records. He began gigging professionally in 1949, and Antonio Carlos Jobim produced his debut album in 1956. His best friend in these early days was none other than Joao Gilberto, who wrote lyrics to his instrumental tune, Minha Saudade, which became a hit. In an interview during the 1970s, Gilberto said Donato inspired the creation of bossa nova. He claimed that he had picked up his revolutionary guitar beat while watching Donato play the piano. Donato took an opportunity to join Carmen Miranda's old band, Banda da Lua, in the late 1950s in the US, where he stayed for the next 15 years, only returning to Brazil for gigs and recording sessions. There, he worked primarily as a featured sideman for legendary Latin jazz band leaders like Mongo Santa Maria, Cal Tjader, Eddie Palmieri, and Tito Puente, as well as recording a few solo albums for RCA, Blue Thumb, and Muse. Upon returning to Brazil in the early 70s, he was hailed as one of the founders of the bossa nova and immediately settled in with the post-tropicalia gang of Caetano Veloso, Gilberto Gil, and Gal Costa. He recorded two of his finest albums in 1973 and 1975, adding lyrics and vocals for the first time. He participated in countless recording sessions throughout the 1970s and early 1980s as an arranger, piano player, and even as a trombonist. In the 90s, Donato began recording again at a furious pace, releasing more than 20 solo and collaborative albums in the past 20 years, including Sambolero, which earned him a Latin Grammy in 2010. Donato's unique musical style is thoroughly Brazilian, playfully youthful, and heavily spiced with West Coast and Latin jazz, making it difficult to classify his music.
And now I'd like to introduce Cassio Viana, who will be performing the music of Joao Donato. Cassio Viana is the Director of Jazz Studies at Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington. A native of Rio de Janeiro, Cassio's work as a composer, arranger, and pianist reflects his broad range of musical and cultural influences. His compositional styles range from popular music and Brazilian jazz to classical chamber pieces and works for jazz big band. His recent album, Infancia, features his recent original compositions for Jazz Orchestra. And the first song that Cassio and friends will be performing is Bananera. Wonderful. That was Bananera by Cassio Viana with some help from some friends. And I'd like to invite Cassio and Sherry Alves, who will be on the next song, to say a little bit about their relationship to the music of Donato.
Hey, hi, Alan. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here, to be playing this concert. I want to thank you for hosting it. Thank you, Carrie, for your invitation. Carrie is a very collaborative person, so she was very kind to invite me and Jaznam and everyone else. So that's super cool. Um, I'm so glad to play the music of Donato. Donato is really a beloved composer in Brazil. I think the one remarkable thing about him is that, of course, jazz musicians love him and for his playing, for his compositions, but also the general public loves him because he's a great songwriter too. And, it's not like he writes well one thing and not so well the other. So he really does everything with such a level of craftsmanship and so beautifully. So and that's when I was thinking about what to play. I was really considering his famous songs. This one we just heard an instrumental version of a song called Bananeira, Banana Tree. That also is a vocal piece of music with lyrics written by Gilberto Gil, the great Gilberto Gil. So I thought it was interesting to show something that sounds jazz, maybe Brazilian jazz, but it's songs that you could hear on any radio station in Brazil, not just a specialized jazz radio station. And for that, I invited two of my great friends from Brazil, from my hometown of São Gonçalo in Rio de Janeiro. I know there are people from there watching right now. And Wagner Trindade, great bass player, composer, educator. He lives in LA. He teaches there. We've been working together for 20 years now. And then Flávio Santos, a drummer, who is now in São Gonçalo. So we recorded, over, of course, videos here and there. And he's a very good friend of mine who plays with a lot of great Brazilian musicians. His resume is extensive. So, the second song we're gonna hear is another beautiful song, really, written by Donato. And I invited a very good friend of mine from Portland State University. She teaches there, Sherry Alves. She's an incredible singer. I first worked with her 10 years ago here in the US. And she accepted to participate on my first album here, an album of songs. She was the main singer the only singer on the album. And she's so talented. Every time there's a chance to play with her, I'm very excited to have her on. And Sherry Alves, tell us a little bit about the song, Até Quem Sabe.
Hello, thank you, Cassio, for that very generous introduction. And I'd like to echo that thank you to Carrie for inviting me to participate in this really cool project. This is my first time experiencing a song by this composer, and so I just wanted to tell you a little bit of what it's about. It's first pretty ambiguous, the literal translation of these lyrics, and so I worked with Cassio to put it to something that made a little more sense to me. And so this song is perhaps about a relationship that's run its course, and when someone you feel passionately for, who synced with your life path, suddenly takes a different course, they become an acquaintance you may or may not ever see. And so this song tries to make sense of this feeling, but it never quite resolves. And the translation at the end is, in English is, I'll see you someday, perhaps, but who knows? And so this is Até Quem Sabe.
Fantastic. And so here we go with Até Quem Sabe by Joao Donato.
Até dia, até talvez, até quem sabe, até você sem fantasia, sem mais saudade. Agora a gente, tão de repente, não mais se entende, nem mais pretende seguir fingindo, seguir seguindo. Agora vou pra onde for, sem mais você, sem me querer, sem mesmo ser, sem me entender. Vou esquecer, vou me perder pela cidade, até dia, até talvez, até quem sabe.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sherry and Cassio. That was Ate King Sabi. And next up, we are going to be featuring the work of Hermeto Pascoal. And with that, I want to play a little video about Hermeto.
Hermeto Pascoal was born in Lagoa da Canoa in the state of Alagoas in 1936. Before he was 10, he and his brother José Neto were headlining local dance parties, with Hermeto alternating on accordion and tambourine. As a young man, Hermeto moved to Rio de Janeiro and then Sao Paulo, where he began collaborating with some of the best new musicians and composers coming up in the mid-60s post-bossa nova scene, such as Edu Lobo, Geraldo Vandré, and Ayrton Moreira. Since the early 70s, Hermeto has been identified by his wild, shock-white hair and long beard, earning him the nickname O Bruxo, which means the wizard in Portuguese. Universally renowned as a musical genius, Hermeto, as he's commonly known by just his first name, is a virtuoso pianist, accordionist, and flautist, but has always preferred rather more unconventional ways of producing sounds and songs, utilizing napkins, carpets, chairs, pints of beer, body parts, kitchen utensils, animals even. A pig famously features on the 1977 album Slaves Mass. Hermeto's solo career took off in the 1970s when he released albums for Cobblestone, Sinter, Warner Brothers, and Atlantic, the latter of which captured his 1979 performance at the Montreux Jazz Festival. Still performing and touring in his 80s, Hermeto saw 2 albums released in 2017, a lost album from 1976 with Grupo Vice Versa, Viajando com o Som, and No Mundo dos Sons, credited to Hermeto Pascoal and Grupo, which was nominated for the Latin Grammy Awards in 2018 in the category Best Instrumental Album. Pascoal is best known as a composer and multi-instrumentalist who has worked with some of the best-known musicians in Brazil and throughout the world of jazz, including a historic collaboration with Miles Davis on his 1971 live album, Live Evil. Miles Davis famously referred to Hermeto as, quote, the most impressive musician in the world.
And performing the music of Hermeto Pascoal, we have Jaznam Daya Singh. Jaznam Daya Singh is a pianist and composer from Rio de Janeiro, though he's resided in the US for the past 33 years. His music is inspired and informed by the styles of his home country, classical music, plus American and European jazz. He has an extensive discography as a leader, co-leader, sideman, and producer in projects that encompass a wide range of styles. In 2017, he performed his jazz concertino for piano and string orchestra with the Portland Chamber Orchestra, led by Maestro Yaki Bergman. His most recent album is titled EKTA, or EKTA, The Unity Project, a composition commissioned and performed by the Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble. And the first song we're going to hear from Jaznam Daya Singh is called Boca Chiando. Wonderful. Thank you, Jaznam Daya Singh. That was Boca Chiandu. I'd like to invite Jaznam to say a few words about his connection to the music of Hermeto Pascoal and why he chose this song and a little bit about the next song. We need to unmute you, Jaznam. I think you're still muted.
What about now?
Perfect. Oh, we're muted again now.
I don't know what's happening. What about now?
Yes, you're good.
So I'm very excited to be here with my fellow piano players, Carrie, Pulitzer, and Cassio, Viana, celebrating the music of these three piano masters from Brazil, Dom Salvador, Joao Donato, and Hermeto Pascoal. And I must say that I'm particularly happy to be doing the set dedicated to Hermeto because he's been a musical hero of mine for a long time. And like Alan said just a few minutes ago, in Brazil, Hermeto is called O Bruxo, the wizard, because of the magic he creates with his music. I'll tell you a little bit about the song you just heard. It is called Bocateando, and it's dedicated to a great Brazilian trombone player from Brazil. His name is Bocato. In 1980, Bocato and Leia Freire, who is a great flautist, pianist, and composer from São Paulo, both of them went together to visit Hermeto in his band. And right there on the spot, Hermeto composed that song for Bocato, and they all played together right after. So Bocateando could be interpreted as playing like Bocato. The song you're about to hear was written in 1989. And according to my friend, Jovino Santos Neto, who was Hermeto's musical director for at least 15 years, around that time, Hermeto was going through a very romantic phase and writing all these lyrical and lush ballads. This one happens to be a favorite of mine and is titled Haja Coração, which could be loosely translated as heart stopping.
Wonderful, Jaznam. We're going to get into Haja Coração right about now. Thank you, Jaznam Daya Singh. That was Aja Coração by Hermeto Pascoal. And we are moving on now to our final featured artist, Dom Salvador. And I'm going to play a little video for you to showcase a little bit about Dom and even a message from Dom himself.
Dom Salvador was born Salvador da Silva Filho in 1938 in Rio Claro, in the state of Sao Paulo. By the age of 12, he was playing with the local orchestra, and in 1961 he moved to Sao Paulo to pursue his dream of playing jazz, where he joined a well-known group of the time, Oliveira e seus Black Boys. Dom Umomao, the legendary drummer, caught a performance and invited Salvador to join him in Rio de Janeiro in his new group, the Copa Trio. After moving to Rio, Salvador became a regular figure on Beco das Garrafas, Rio's 52nd Street, during the mid-60s bossa jazz apex. There he backed up future legends Jorge Ben and Elis Regina, for whom he supported on her breakout 1964 album Samba Eu Canto Assim. A couple more trios followed, the Rio 65 Trio and the Salvador Trio, before he broke out as a solo artist using, for the first time, the name Dom Salvador for his self-titled 1969 album. This album and his next with his group Abolição combined Brazilian rhythms with jazz, funk, and soul. By the early 1970s, Salvador was a successful solo artist while also leading recording sessions for one of Brazil's best record labels, Odeon, working with artists like Edu Lobo, Elza Soares, Peri Ribeiro, and even Pixinguinha. In 1973, he took a vacation to visit his niece in New York City and never came back. There he played with some of his jazz heroes, recorded an album, My Family, for Muse Records, and performed for Queen Elizabeth in 1977 as Harry Belafonte's bandleader. That same year, he started playing piano nightly at a swanky Brooklyn restaurant, the River Cafe, where he still performs 40 years later, except during quarantine. He continues to record and gig around New York, including a momentous Rio 65 Trio reunion at Carnegie Hall, as well as occasional performances in Brazil. A documentary about his life is in its final stages of production, and his life and musical legacy was featured in the New York Times in 2018.
Hello, this is Dom Salvador. I wanted to send you all a greeting from Long Island, New York City. Thank you to perform my compositions, Sonho Azul e Teatro. These two pieces I composed in 1966 to my first album that I recorded in Brazil in that year. Thank you so much.
We were lucky enough to have Dom able to share a little message with us, as we have some people in this group who have had a chance to work with him. And so we'll get into that in just a moment. But I want to introduce Carrie Pulitzer, who is the mastermind behind this whole thing. And so it wouldn't have happened at all without her initiative in bringing us all together to put on this program. Carrie Pulitzer is a jazz pianist and composer with a long abiding passion for bossa nova. After studying jazz piano performance at the New England Conservatory of Music, she recorded 6 albums as a leader, the latest of which is Diagonal, a tribute to Dorval Ferreira. Carrie received grants from the Regional Arts and Culture Council, both for this album and for this performance, Music of Brazilian Piano Masters. And we are going to get into the first of 3 songs by Dom Salvador, the first of which being Arroz de Festa, featuring Laura Dreyer. Thank you, Carrie and Laura. I'd like to bring on Carrie and Laura to say a little bit about their relationship to Dom Salvador and his music.
Hi there. So thank you all for being here with us. I wanted to meet Dom Salvador for a really long time, and I finally got the chance to do so on the last trip that I took to New York before the coronavirus hit. So I was going to be playing a gig with Laura, and she said, "Why don't I introduce you to Dom Salvador? We'll go to the River Cafe." So I got to meet him there. He wanted me to play for him, which was kind of intimidating, but he was so gentle and so nice and supportive that then I wasn't so nervous. Anyway, I got the chance to hear him and Laura play live, and part of why I chose this song, Arroz de Festa, is because it's one of Laura's favorite songs to play with him in his band, since she's one of his band members. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Laura now so she can talk a bit about her experience with Dom Salvador.
Hi, Carrie, thank you so much for having me on this concert. It's really a privilege and a pleasure, and in spite of all of the little technical glitches due to like new technology that we have to use because of the pandemic, I think it's a really great presentation. So yeah, so I've known Dom Salvador since probably around 1990, so I guess that's 30 years. I've played in his band. I started playing in his sextet, and I've done not only his sextet gigs with him, but all different kinds of gigs, parties and jazz gigs and duo gigs. And I just, as I was sort of reflecting on the whole, rehearsal that we did the other day with all the musicians, I sort of started thinking like a lot of these great musicians that are featured in today's performance sort of get pigeonholed by the record industry or the music industry as like Brazilian artists or Brazilian jazz artists or whatever. But all of these artists, including all the performers today, are just more than that. I mean, you can't even categorize them. They're, and this includes, Salvador, of course. He's an amazing jazz musician. He is an amazing composer. Of course, he's an amazing Brazilian jazz musician who has like helped to shape, the emergence of samba jazz in popular jazz culture, and with his music, with Abolição in the 60s and 70s. I mean, he's really made his mark on the world, and a lot of musicians like him, they might not get the same recognition that the select few of the record companies pick to sort of promote in media, but he definitely deserves to be up there with all of the jazz greats throughout jazz history. So it's an honor for me to say that I have played with him and that I play in his band, and it's super fun to play his music always, and hopefully we'll get back to normal one of these days where we can start performing again. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura and Carrie. And we're going to get into our next song by Dom Salvador. And that one is Sonho Azul. Wonderful. Thank you, Carrie. That was Sonho Azul performed there by Carrie Pulitzer, and of course, written by Dom Salvador. We want to invite Carrie back up to talk a little bit about this final song we have, and maybe some thank yous and such.
Hi there. So that was just, it's such a mesmerizing, dreamy song that I felt like I had to play it. Although it's so difficult to choose from Dom Salvador's repertoire because he's written so many incredibly beautiful songs, Maria, and I didn't even know where to begin. But when I heard that song, there was just something so mesmerizing about it that I had to play it. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you all so much for being here. I want to thank the Regional Arts and Culture Council for helping to support this event and the arts in Portland. I want to thank the amazing musicians, Jaznam Singh, Cassio Viana, Sherry Alves, Laura Dreyer, Wagner Trindade, and Flavio Santos, and thank Alan Thayer for hosting the proceedings and doing such a great job with all of the research of all the different musicians. And I guess I just want to say that during this whole, and George, my husband, George Colligan, how could I forget that? I guess he went on a gig, otherwise he would be right here, and then it would have been first on my mind. I just want to say that during the coronavirus, music is one of the only things that I feel like there's something to look forward to, and I really looked forward to this, and music is something that I feel like I can look forward to every day. So I thank you all for helping me look forward to this and for helping to bring it to fruition and to be present for it. So thank you all so much for being here.
Wonderful. And we are going to get into our final song here, which is a Dom Salvador composition with all of our featured musicians playing together, and it is something to behold. So here we have Tema Trio by Dom Salvador.
Thank
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. That was the entire gang: Carrie Pulitzer, Jaznam Singh, Cassio Viana, and George Colligan on drums and acoustic bass. And we're going to wrap up the program here. But before we do that, we want to encourage you to ask any questions. If you're on the YouTube live, you can ask a question in the comments section, and we'd be happy to address any of those as soon as after I make a few small announcements. You'll see on this screen right here, these are the links and the information about all our featured performers. And we'll have this video reposted for perpetuity on another platform. So stay connected with us on our various channels, and we'll all share it very shortly. I want to also remind you, if you're not familiar with my radio show, I have a weekly radio show called The Brazilian Beat. It's on KMHD Jazz Radio. We're very fortunate here in Portland, Oregon to have, I'm biased of course, but a fantastic jazz radio station that is lots of different programming all week, all hours of the day and night. My show is every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you're not local, you can of course stream it at kmhd.org. And I want to again encourage links. The link to the donations is in the chat. So feel free to make a donation. It would be much appreciated. And of course, many, many thanks to the Regional Arts and Culture Council for their support of this program. And before we turn to our to any questions you might have, I want to share some parting words from one of our maestros.
Okay, bye-bye.
And that, of course, was Joao Donato. Looks like he was in a bathroom. That's about Donato's speed to be very informal. So I'm going to keep it open for just a little bit to see if there are any questions. The one that we have gotten so far is, Sherry, are you Brazilian? If not, you sing very beautifully in Portuguese. Your voice is extremely sweet. Delighted. Congratulations. So Sherry, you want to answer that question?
Sure. It could be a very short answer, but I'll draw it out. No, I am not Brazilian, but thank you so much. This doesn't come super easy to me, and I'm grateful for Cassio's help fixing pronunciation from time to time. I am of Portuguese heritage. My name, Alves, comes from my family who came from the Azore Islands. And so it's a common question that I get whether I'm Brazilian, because I have a Portuguese last name, but I'm not, but I do really appreciate that comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sherry. I don't think I see any other questions coming through. I guess we've answered all your questions with the music, so that's the good part about it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching the program. And again, we'll be reposting this on YouTube and in various channels. So if you're friends with any of us, you'll be sure to see it when that goes up very shortly. And again, I want to thank Carrie for inviting me to participate in this program. It's been a lot of fun. And with that, I just encourage everyone on the show here to unmute themselves and maybe say goodbye, and then we'll end this program for the evening. Oh, do we have another question? All right. The question is, what technology was used to create those distance videos? It came out well. I'm guessing that's a question for Cassio.
Cell phones. Metronome going on, so just playing over each other, and then yeah, very fun, very different, but very fun too. The only way we can do it now, but you know, it was a great opportunity to connect and reconnect with people who are so far away. So I wasn't able to play with my friend Flavio, who's now in Brazil. So at times like this, we end up finding new ways to make art, and I'm very excited about that too.
Excellent. Thank you for the question, That was David, and thanks for the response, Cassio. It's been so much fun to do this with you all. I think that's it. No more questions. Cassio did do all the editing and put together the videos that I talked over. So thanks to Cassio for all that technical support. And again, thanks to all the performers. We had Carrie, Cassio, Jaznam, Laura, Sherry, and George all in the mix. And stay tuned to watch the repeat when we get it up live again, and you can share it with your friends and family and any lovers of music, Brazilian or otherwise. So with that, I think I'll say boa noite to everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Boa noite, everyone. Thank you so much. You guys sounded beautifully. Thank you. Hey, Cassio, I guess now I can say happy birthday, right?
Oh, no. Tchau, tchau todo mundo. Muito obrigado.
Ciao, ciao.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody sounded beautiful. It was so nice to hear you. Let's do it again.
Great seeing and listening to you, Laura. You
Let's
played
do
great.
it again. You sounded amazing. Everybody.
Thanks, so did you.
All right. I'm going to pull the plug now, everyone. Okay. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.